Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You're listening to the RAP podcast, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Pod, where we try to cover all the important issues on and off the field in Welsh Regional and National Rugby. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, all of that information is at the end, so you'll just have to bear with us and get to that bit. In the meantime, enjoy this week's show. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RAP podcast with me, Lee G, and joining me as always is Reese, Jamie and Carwyn. How are we this evening, gents?
Not too bad.
Pretty good.
All good, mate, all good.
Good, still recovered from Saturday. So joining us this evening, a very special guest. He's Irish, but we're not going to hold that against him. If anything, we're going to kind of bow down and say, oh, show us a great one. So joining us this evening is the one and only Girvan Dempsey. Good evening, Girvan.
Good evening. Great. Thanks for having me on.
So how good does it feel being Irish over this side of the water after Saturday?
Of course, it definitely feels good, but it's always the other game that often happens down in Twickenham or the corresponding fixture in Dublin that I'm a little bit more smug on. I don't tend to carry on that too much when playing our friendly local Welsh sides. It was a great weekend. Yeah, I have to admit, I think when I look at it, I'd imagine both sides were considering getting a fast start and getting the Six Nations off on the right foot. And unfortunately for Wales, Ireland managed that. What a start. And the game, as we know, was catch up rugby after that.
Did you expect them to start as quick as they did? I think every coach anticipates or hopes that's the plan. But I think if you look at Ireland's record in sort of the previous sort of few test matches, they've targeted that and they've managed to achieve it. When they beat New Zealand down in New Zealand, that's what they got. Sort of they're the key moments. They talk about it, particularly Leinster have in the past, of building pressure. And there's numerous ways of doing that with the ball, territory, but ultimately scoreboard pressure. You're just trying to build that score to force the opposition team into doing something they don't want to do. They're having to chase the game. They're having to push passes. They're having to do something different. Yeah, because obviously when, Warren Gatland coming back into Wales, I think it sort of lifted the nation after all what's been going on in the news, as you can imagine. But then we've obviously come back down to earth with a massive bump. And he's picked some squad players, some younger guys who I think some of us thought would have made the cut on Saturday but didn't get selected. Now hopefully there might be some changes, or do you think Warren will stick with the same team and give him another chance against Scotland?
I think there'll be the vast majority of them will stay. I'm not sure what
where he'll change. I've read a lot in the press over the last while and spoken to sort of friends, Welsh colleagues and friends, and there is a lot of doom and gloom around rugby in Wales. And from me looking at it on Saturday, I think if you look at it from an analytical point of view, it wasn't actually that bad. I know Ireland got off to a flying start, which was huge, and Wales were chasing the game. But even at that, I think it was 20 odd minutes, Wales had a scrum in the Ireland 22, had an opportunity to go right, give Josh Adams a one-on-one, potentially against Hugo Keenan, and Dan Biggar just held on to the ball, just hesitated, got tackled, turnover. That was it. Relieved pressure. Then there was numerous other occasions where Wales had opportunities in the Ireland 22. Obviously, in the second half, those 3 or 4 lineouts, that was the clinical difference. When Ireland had entry into the Welsh 22, particularly early on, they just took them and they built that, as I said, scoreboard pressure. But Wales couldn't execute and couldn't capitalise on those. So I think there'll be a lot of things they'll be looking at it from a positive point of view, trying to make sure that they take those chances when they do come. And the work-ons for me is just, it was just so surprising to see how flat they were at the start. They were just like so hesitant, defensive. They didn't get off the line when it was Ireland were doing the pick and goes in the 22. They weren't working as hard as they could to get around the corner. Like the Irish were 2 carries and they were into the Welsh backs for those tries.
They were immense. I thought they were absolutely immense. They would just pick, go, and there was always like someone on the shoulder or someone grabbing and driving through with them, wasn't there? I read this thing today. I think it was from Graham Price's article. He said they were taught, when you go into the ruck, you drive through it, so the ball comes out the back like an egg. It's there. You take no prisoners. And they were fantastic.
For an old man like Conor Murray, he as been said, he had an armchair ride. Like you couldn't ask for a better day in Cardiff to be a 9. It was just clean ball on a plate. Didn't have to go digging. Was under no pressure, and it just made his life so easy.
Yeah, and he lost no pace, is he? Because when Liam Williams had a Lions-esque break around the back there, he got to him. Fair play. But everyone thought, he's getting old now. He's going to be. Will he be moving on? But no, he was the best scrum half on the pitch.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did really well. He played it, but as I said, the pack laid the foundation for him to have that. The ball carry, you could see that the little bit of footwork before contact, as you said, the drive through, get beyond. Then the clean out at the breakdown was immense. They just so clean and crisp ball for him to play away and play on the front foot. Where conversely, Ireland managed to double tackle. I thought there's early on whatever possession Wales had, Ireland managed to double tackle and actually managed to sort of slow the pace of the Welsh attack, which was huge. I think Wales organised it at half time, looked a lot more defensively solid. But again, about both sides, I think both sets of coaches will go away and look at ill discipline. Wales, particularly early on, Ireland at the start of the second half. Andrew Porter, I think, was 3 penalties in a row, which you can't afford, and they can't afford to give away against France next week.
Absolutely. And Lee, go on, Lee, go on.
No, I was going to say, you've coached at the top level, and we're talking about, fractions of a second, making a decision in fractions of a second. And that really was the difference, where Ireland made the decision and committed and were, they were executing things bang on every time. How do you coach those fractions of a second? Do you know what I mean? How do you go from being a fraction of a second off to being a fraction of a second ahead?
I think there's a few ways that the Irish teams do it, and the Irish coaching sort of structures do it. Is one around the intensity at which they train, and I don't mean like physical intensity as in contact. It's just the pace at which they train. They train fast. The ball in play. The ball is constantly on the move. They train the detail around the carry, the detail around the clean out and the breakdown. They look at that. They analyze that. Provinces have contact coaches who do a lot of work on that and around the ball carry, the breakdown. And they analyze training. Like it's nothing new. It's just they analyze what they do in training. But ultimately, it's just having the confidence. And people say that comes from the clarity. So the coaches, Andy Farrell and his team of coaches, give the players just real clarity on what they want. Mike Cat just said, "This is what I want in attack. This is how I want us to work." Everyone is 100% clear on it, and they train it and replicate it, train it under pressure, fast, and even faster. And then it just means that once, and it's the old saying that once they go into the game, they've done it, and it's easy. And when you train at that sort of intensity with and without the ball, it just makes those decisions a lot easier when you're under the pressure and under the pump in the cauldron of a big test match.
So Jamie, what you said about it. Sorry.
No, go on, Reece, you carry on.
Yeah, just to say, like the two things that I saw in the Wales Ireland game was the intensity, what you're speaking of now, and how everybody knew exactly what they were doing, where it didn't seem to sort of be replicated on the Welsh side, and the way that we were out-muscled both in the tight and at the breakdown as well. So bringing that sort of we at some points in the game, it just looked like men versus boys. And, a couple of our scrums creaked. The breakdown, we just looked like we were... not even when we were isolated, but it looked like we were always in danger of losing the ball when we took it forward as well. And we mentioned that like sort of bigger, like half step and what have you. And I think he was just worried about that. There's a confidence issue there, isn't he? He was worried about that intercept again and things like that. So is it's a side playing with a lot of confidence that really know their system, really know where they're from in the provinces, and a side in transition that are just starting to, bring back an old coach and possibly going back to systems that we have played before, but not for a while.
Yeah, but I think, as I said, the one you mentioned with Dan Biggar as well, he was hesitant on that because obviously he'd thrown the intercept at that stage and he was hesitant. But fair play to James Lowe, that's something that's been driven into him to sort of get high and get into that passing channel on the outside. And unfortunately, they didn't look when they threw the ball and it was a foot race. But yeah, the accuracy around the Irish breakdown was really, really impressive, and how clinical they were in providing quick ball for Conor Murray was excellent. But I think it's, as I said earlier, it's not all doom and gloom. Wales created those chances. I think there's a lot of positives to take from the game, particularly in the second half. They just need to be more clinical in the execution of those. They looked a lot sharper in how they attacked in the second half. I think they started to attack a channel wider because they recognised Ireland were getting those double tackles are in quite tight. So they started attacking that sort of outside sort of 13 channel. They played a few balls out the back and played a little bit wider, and they got a lot of success out there. So I think it's something that they might look at and how they have a bit more variety in the attack, particularly when they do have the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And guys, you got some questions as well from some of the listeners.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we got a couple in. This one's from Morgan Dobbin, and he's asking, are you worried that Ireland will give France as many opportunities as Wales had? Or was it just that the game was all but won and there was only the bonus point to play for? So was there any concerns, Girvan, about the way sort of Ireland? I mean, credit to Wales, they did do well. I thought we did play much, much better second half. But was there any concerns that they just fell off there in the second half a bit?
I think Andy Farrell mentioned in his post-match press conference that he was concerned about how that sort of 20-minute period after half-time where they conceded 3 or 4 penalties on the bounce. I think it was just penalty against Ireland, one after the other, which allowed Wales back into the game. And then also just around some of the defensive line speed fell away, and just given those opportunities. And we know France are a more of a settled side. I know obviously they had a bit of a scare in Rome on Sunday, but I think you give those sort of chances to France, and it's going to be a lot tougher. So I think they really have to sharpen up on those sort of indiscipline points, particularly early on in the start of the game.
Yeah, and it's only round 2, but is it fair to say this is a championship decider this week, would you say, or is it a bit too early to call it yet?
I think it's a huge game. Yeah, I think it is going to be a huge game. I think both these sides this weekend are going to be thereabouts come the last weekend, fighting for either a Grand Slam, a championship title, or something. Which you never know. Like there's anything can happen. It's still, I know it's only after round one, but anything can happen. The Scots will have massive confidence after that result, that win.
Yep.
They'll be in huge sort of form going home, going back to Edinburgh in front of a home crowd next weekend.
It's a massive game, isn't it? It's a massive for us. It's a massive game. You know.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm dreading it.
Just like mixed emotions when they beat England, and knowing that we got them next, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in saying that, there's an opportunity there. You catch them off guard. You catch them cold, like they catch them. It's going to be so important that Wales do what Ireland did: get out of the blocks quickly, be really clinical with their phases of possession and sets of possession, whatever they decide to do. Hold the ball, have a look for space. If it's on, play. If not, play behind them, force them to play from deep. Defensive pressure, put the squeeze on them. They're going to have to do that. They can't afford to let them play because they know Scotland are going to play. That's what Greg has shown his hand. That's going to be their DNA now moving forward. So Wales have to be defensively very strong and really get a fast start.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
A lot of line speed is needed there, isn't it? Like which we got in the second half, but maybe didn't have so much in that first half. And even when we did sort of thing, Ireland found a way of crossing that gain line, didn't they? They picked the correct shoulder to go on, and that Scottish back line just looks dangerous, doesn't it? You know, it was running it from everywhere.
Yeah, and they did, and they didn't sort of seem phased when they did make a mistake. They just said, no, don't worry about it. Park it, move on. Let's stick to our game plan. Don't move away from that. Just trust what we said we're going to do, and we're going to play. We're going to move the ball. We're going to try and play wide. We're going to try and get in the outside channels. Yeah, they did look dangerous, but again, that can be used. That can be used against them. If Wales get their defensive sets right, if they then recognise and they move quicker around the breakdown and get into position, so they have that hold or fold around the breakdown. They recognise where the Scottish attackers are, and then, as you say, get off the line, shut down their time and space, and just cause those rucks to make them into a real tough battle for them, so they can't get that quick ball that they want.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning. Sorry, going. I was just going to say it is worth mentioning. Warren Gatland has never lost to Scotland as Wales coach. Now that could be famous last words. that record is under serious threat. It's under serious threat this weekend. I really do believe that. But yeah, so there is, optimism, isn't it? There's cause for optimism. So let's hope Gatland keeps that winning record intact. That's all I wanted to say. That's all.
10 years ago, Wales got humped by Ireland in the opening game, and we went on to win the championship by beating England 30 points to 3.
Yeah, with Howley in charge.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, you keep that stat in mind now. But going forward, like the Scottish forwards they're a big old unit, and whereas like I said, the game on Saturday against Ireland, I thought Wales just lacked that grunt up forward, that physical prowess. We've got someone like 6'8", 20 stone Alan Jones, but he just doesn't seem to. There's no go forward. Great in the line out, great in the rucks, on the mauls, whatever. But he just doesn't have that power going forward. I don't know what's wrong, and obviously Alan Wynne won't be playing this weekend as well now, failing the HIA. So there is a chance to look at some younger, bigger, more athletic guys as well.
Yeah, I think that's the way the game is moving. I think that little bit of, as you say, power dynamism around contact. I think you have to have that. You have to try, and defenses are so organised nowadays that you have to have a little bit of footwork pre-contact to get to a weak shoulder, to get to a soft sort of gap that you can actually just get through. And then your support players are there like lightning, and they just clean blast past, and the ball is gone. And you've got to be constantly trying to probe and just move defences. You cannot allow, because when teams, and Ireland have faced it in the past, when teams are controlling and they manage to get their defence set early, get off the line, and you're playing in front of them, it's really hard. You have to play in behind them. You have to get through them, force the defence to backpedal, make them move, make their forwards move, then the gaps will appear even more for you.
No, absolutely.
So when you talk about like having a big, massive guy in the second row, Carwyn, yeah, but Tad Burn, he's not massive. Yeah, I think he's about 6'3", maybe 6'4".
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need
he's one of the best,
and athletic. Yeah,
he's one of the. I'd put him as one of the best forwards in the world. You know, he genuinely, the guy makes turnovers. He's chasing down wingers. He's kicking the ball 50-odd meters. You know, there's genuinely nothing that guy can't do. And, you know, and as a second row, he's probably one of the smallest second rows in the world, isn't he? He's just talented.
You're only saying this because he played for the Scarlets. But listen, I agree. Like, you know, I think no, I'm not saying they have to be the biggest, but they just need to be powerful. You know what I mean? They need to have that power, that go forward. You'd expect someone who's, like I said, 20 stone, 6'8", to have that grunt about him, and he just doesn't seem to have it.
No.
And the boys we got coming on as well, they're big lads, isn't they? But they are still youngsters, aren't they? Like Rhys Davies and Jenkins.
Mm.
But they've got to start somewhere. The World Cup coming up.
We are badly missing Will Rowlands, and it's going to be emphasised even more during our tournament. He's been massive loss for the Dragons, and he's massive loss for Wales because he does provide that grunt and that ball carrier, and he has been Wales' best lock for the past year.
But we seem to keep coming back to this, Girvan, and Ireland never seem to. We seem to get below our first 15, if you like, and then we're kind of scraping round for somebody to fill in. How does the Irish system consistently produce player after player? If somebody drops out, there's a quality player to come in. Do you know what I mean? How do you do that?
It's that hasn't always been the case, and it's more so in recent years that's happened, where we're having that depth and that strength and depth, and the development through the provinces is key. Guys getting the experience, and I suppose you look at it, people said when they saw Ireland going on that sort of A tour to South Africa, them doing these other camps and other things, it was purely around opportunity to grow and develop the squad, because we don't have the Welsh record, as Wales have had consistently solid World Cups. Ireland have consistently underperformed and have really struggled on the big stage at World Cups. And it's purely been cited over the last probably 2 campaigns. It's been down to strength and depth. We haven't had the players when the key instrument or key player has been injured, or say Johnny Sexton's dropped out, who's coming in, who Conor Murray's dropped out, who's come in, Prop has dropped out. We haven't had that next player. Whereas now I think you see with the experience that these players have had, like Finlay Bealham getting his start at the weekend, Tom O'Toole coming off the bench, you're starting to see more and more players have test experience, which is only going to stand them in good stead going into a World Cup.
Mm-hmm. So how much is this a development tool for the World Cup now? There's winning the Grand Slam, but there's also, you know, at the end of that, there's 4 months, 5 months after that is the World Cup. So where does this Six Nations rate for Ireland now?
Huge. Ireland have always considered the Six Nations as the pinnacle. We've always wanted to really try and perform in that, but they'll definitely have another eye on the World Cup in terms of their planning and everything. But ultimately, it would have started a couple of years ago in bringing these players through, bringing the likes of Craig Casey in, bringing other players in, bringing the younger players in, like Dan Sheehan. Now you forget Ronan Kelleher's still out injured at hooker. Obviously, Robbie Henshaw's been out injured, but now Stuart McCluskey gets his chance. Bunyaki's there. There's some good players around. So I think there's a little bit more depth in the Ireland squad than they've had previously. But massively focused on this Six Nations. I think it took us long enough to try and win a Grand Slam. I think they're sort of few and far between. I think the squad will be mad keen to try and put their best foot forward and put themselves in the position to do it.
No, absolutely.
So just obviously, I know you haven't got long with us at the moment. What is your favourite moment from playing in the Six Nations in an Ireland shirt? But also, what's your favourite memory from another team in the Six Nations?
I think the one that jumps out straight away was when Lansdowne Road, the old Lansdowne Road, such a historic ground, great place to play. It was sort of being redeveloped to the current Aviva Stadium, and we moved home, as it shall I say. So there was talk of us even going over to Cardiff to play some of our Six Nations matches or internationals, and everything was being touted. There was negotiations ongoing with the GA, which is the Gaelic Association in Ireland, which plays Gaelic football and hurling, to open their grounds. They had never been done before, but thankfully they managed to agree to it, and we played in Croke Park. And it was that day against England in Croke Park in 2007, so it was just...
And did you score a certain try in that corner?
I managed to get across the whitewash, all right. But just the lead up, the whole occasion, it was historic occasion. The first time England had been to play in Croke Park, I believe Conor O'Shea went into the England camp to discuss. His dad had played Gaelic football for a county called Kerry in Ireland. Had won an All-Ireland championship with them. Conor was obviously played in London Irish, had been involved with the RFU. He went into the camp to explain the history behind the ground, what it would mean. And I remember standing in the lineup for the anthems, and everyone was anticipating what is going to happen when God Save the Queen at the time was going to be played. Was there going to be, how it was going to be received? Was there going to be booing? Was there going to be rioting? Was there going to be an uproar? What was it? And literally you could hear a pin drop at the start, and there was applause at the end of it. And then we went out and battered them, and it was brilliant.
Fantastic. Oh, good stuff.
A quick question.
Another one, sorry, just to jump on the other one.
Go on, yeah, please.
Was probably in Cardiff, and I was on the end of it. Wales winning the Grand Slam, that epic day. Under I think it was Mike Ruddock. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Never ever experienced an atmosphere like it. We'd stayed in a hotel just around the corner, the Hilton Hotel, just around the corner from the ground, and we came out and boarded the bus to go around the corner to the Millennium Stadium, and we couldn't move. We sat on the bus for a good 15 minutes because there was so many Welsh supporters across the streets. There was nowhere to go. So they had to come and get mounted police on horses to part the roads or part the supporters so we could actually get to the ground. It was went into the ground, the noise. I've never experienced anything. I literally couldn't hear yourself think. It was so loud, and you just knew you were in a tough day, and it obviously turned out to be a historic day for Wales.
Yeah. Absolutely, great day.
And we didn't know what to do. Me personally, I was born in 1978, so I hadn't experienced that before. And at the end, I just remember turning to my friends and going like, so what do we do now?
Rhys, you want to jump in with a question there?
Just about how do you think the French got on? They seem to be your main rivals, and they did possibly a similar thing of racing ahead to start with, and then sort of falling away to a very determined Italian side. Who are starting to produce some really sort of top-class players at the moment. And how did you think they got on?
I think the French are the biggest threat. I think they are. I look to the World Cup as well. I think they're going to be a big threat in the World Cup. I think they're a really good side. They've obviously had a bit of a blip at the weekend. It was a big test of the character towards the end for them to sort of hold on there and get the victory against a really quality Italian side. I thought they played some excellent rugby. I thought they moved the ball so well. Again, it looks like what Kieran Crowley's done with them is the breakdown. They've really focused on that. They got speed of ball in that area. But France do look very threatening. They look lethal, and I think they have threats across the board. I think they're a strong pack. I think what they've done in defence It's just been immense. I think that's the one thing that France historically never really had. They never really were thought to work hard enough in defence, whereas they always had the attacking flair and the French flair, but they never really sort of worked as hard as they could in defence, where I think Sean Edwards has done that and brought that to them. I think they're an all-round side now.
Yeah, like for Italy, I thought Rex was fantastic, and Negri was superb. You know, I thought completely different Italy side. You know, they beat Australia. Also, they beat a certain Dragon team last year. Don't want to dwell too much on that, but you know, they're moving forward by the looks of it. You know, and it's great to see. You know, because they have been written off and understandably so over the years. But it's great for the championship.
Oh, it's brilliant. So to have a performance like that in front of a home crowd and to nearly beat France was incredible. But you look at it, like, it was only there last year or the year before that people were calling for them to be thrown out and to get somebody else in, and that they're devaluing the tournament and they're not strong and it's just ridiculous. And they just show like they've got really good players. The Treviso in particular are doing really well in the URC. They're putting in some good results. I think they're putting in some good structures now. Kieran Crowley's doing a great job with the national team. I think they'll be a good side.
Yeah, it's always the Georgia debate, though, isn't it? In the Six Nations, it's always, Italy go and Georgia come in. That's the question, Girvan. Do you think the Six Nations should have a promotion relegation? There's been a lot of talk about this, hasn't there, over the years? I think the stronger Italy will get, I think the talk will die down. But what are your thoughts on it? To keep it as it is, the traditional Six Nations, or would you like to see promotion relegation? Maybe teams like Georgia have an opportunity in other sort of tier 2 nations.
I think at the moment, I think it's I like the format the way it is. I think it's really good. I think what has to happen, and I think it's obviously down to World Rugby, is supporting Georgia and supporting other nations to develop rugby and develop stadia and stuff like that. I think potentially in the future it should be looked at. I think you see Romania, Georgia, teams like that, if they are competitive and they're consistently showing it, their rugby programs are growing. I think it's only going to make for a better tournament. But at the moment, I don't see it happening. I think Italy have justified their inclusion. I think how they've performed, the scalps and the results they've had over the years, how rugby has grown in Italy, and I think is only going to grow even more. I think is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, final question then, Girvan, and it's kind of like this is the one where you have to put your nuts on the block. So, what's the rest of the year, the Six Nations going to be like? Where are Wales going to finish? Where are Ireland going to finish? And who's going to win?
I think purely because Ireland have France in Dublin, I think Ireland are going to win. I just feel that Ireland potentially are going to win. I'm not sure. I think it could be a Grand Slam. I think it could be. I think it's potential, but you never know. I think I'll be very wary of. Obviously, I've said France. I think I'll be wary of England are come to Dublin as well, but Ireland have to go to Murrayfield as well. And if the Scots get another couple of results like they had at the weekend, they're going to be a tough side, maybe a dangerous side. But I think Ireland top. I think France be thereabouts. So I'm not sure. Hopefully not. I'd love to see Wales bounce back from the results of the weekend and go on a winning run. But I think you're looking at realistically. I think you're looking at a bit of a rebuild. I think you're looking at a mid-table, just below mid-table at the moment. But hopefully, I'd love to be proved wrong.
Yeah, which is a nice way of saying. I think you're in for a really tough season. I just don't want to tell you, boys.
But we always come good at the World Cup, though, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Like literally, that's where Ireland. I don't know how Wales they just manage that. That's their tournament. They always do it. Ireland have never reached the semi-final of a World Cup.
Yeah, we'll give you
as well.
We'll give you a couple of hints after this one. Then when you get knocked out in the quarters again, and we're in the semis, we'll let you know what we do from then on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you are in the tougher half of the draw, aren't you? You know, so I think that's going to be two top teams missing out.
Really, yeah.
And we'll end up with either England or Argentina if we don't lose to Georgia and Fiji. You know, we'll be doing all right.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. But Girvan, go on, Lee. You want to say something?
No, I was going to say, let's get past Italy and Scotland first, shall we? Before we start worrying about bloody Georgia in the World Cup, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, have you got anything else to add for Girv there?
No, I'm good.
No, we're all good, mate. It's very good of you to give us your time, Girvan.
Absolutely.
It's always a pleasure talking to somebody that's been there and done that, especially when they've been there and done that against England. So, we're very grateful for your time. Thanks very much, mate.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's been great fun. Really enjoyed it. It's a pleasure anytime.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
The family, take care.
All the best.
So, big thanks to Girvan with that. He's a nice guy, isn't he, gents? He's quite good.
Good chat. Lovely fella. Good chat, that was, yeah.
It's a shame he's Irish, really. I mean, we could do more of them in Wales, come on.
He's a good bloke. Good bloke.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He said his retirement game didn't go to plan because he ended up playing against Shane Williams in his last game. And it was when Ospreys beat Leinster for the league. How many years ago? 2012, I think it was. Yeah. But no, great bloke. Great to have him on. Really good guy.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then let's do our usual bits. Let's start with drink of the week. So let's do drink of the week and drink of the game. So what you were drinking through the game on Saturday. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I tell you why, because I've been a complete wimp, and I will start off with a non-alcoholic, and we'll work up from there. Because I came back from holiday, I was held together with just caffeine and goodwill for the game. I would taken my wife to Cyprus, and I just spent the week on wine and their local beer, Keo, which was my last drink of the week. And I was feeling dreadful when I got back. So it was coffee. It was coffee then, and it's coffee now.
How strong is the coffee, mate? Are you kind of easing back down to normal, or are you
it's
still
my first day back at work? So it's keeping me going. Yeah, absolutely.
Jamie, what about you, mate? What did you have?
Well, on Saturday we went out. We had a child-free weekend, so me and the missus were out in town, and fuck me, what didn't we drink? I had Mantry, I had Heineken, I had Corona, I was on the Jaeger bombs because I was flagging at one point. We ended up in a nightclub called Coco's. I had a fucking pina colada. Why I chose that, I do not know. It was a good night in fairness. There was loads of Irish in Newport because they were all staying like in the Travel Lodge at the Mercury Hotel because it is cheaper to stay in Newport and Cardiff. And the Irish fans were great. Many of them had English accents. I'm not sure how Irish some of these Irish fans were. But fair play, they were good as gold. It was a really good night. And a lovely curry afterwards as well. But for tonight, I wanted a can of Tennent's because it's Scotland week, isn't it? And I know that my local cost cutter does sell Tennent's. It's very hard to buy around here, but I knew they had it. So I went down this morning already, innit? They sold out. Didn't have any. So
we got the same idea.
So what we got now, I've had to go back to the Tiny Rebel. I've gone back to the silly beers, right?
Yeah.
So do you remember Slim Fast?
Oh my God.
Strawberry milkshake. Hang on now. Hang on. Bear with me, right? Do you remember Slim Fast strawberry milkshake? So Tiny Rebel got one. It's called Tiny Fast, and it's a strawberry milkshake beer. It's called Tiny Fast.
Jesus Lord, man. Peanut butter and strawberry milkshake.
That is much respect, man.
Tiny Fast strawberry flavour. But you know what? I thought it was going to be really sickly. But it's not actually that sickly. It's actually quite nice. And it's all fucking frothy, like a milkshake. Like.
Yeah. Oh, that looks grim.
Weird.
Your liver must be absolutely ruined.
Well, it's better than a peanut butter flapjack. That's what I will say. But I couldn't have like 3 or 4.
That was a low point.
Oh, it was.
You could lick a cow's ass for an hour, and it would be better than a peanut butter fucking beer. That's just the sound of it is disgusting.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice. No.
Right. Well, this evening. I'm on. I've got a Golden Champion Golden Ale. It was the next one across on Tesco's real ale thing. It's quite nice. But Saturday I've got an open uni assignment to do that I still haven't done, and I was full of the plan. I was gonna limit my drinking 4 cans of Guinness. So I've got a pack of 10 Guinness, or a 4 for this, 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. So I opened the first one just before the anthems. I thought, lovely, here we go. And then I had to open the second one 5 minutes in. Just before the blow. Oh, it was hard slog. So I've got 2 cans of Guinness left, and then I went to sleep and I didn't get any more assignment done. So So Carwyn, you were at the stadium on Saturday, weren't you?
Well, I was there in body. So my day started off all very civilised. Had a lovely walk down the Taff Trail, all meaning well and good. Got a coffee halfway down. And the plan was to meet some Irish friends and friends from North Wales as well in the Angel Hotel, knowing that the Cardiff Arms Park Male Voice would be singing, get a bit of their repertoire. And we got in there, apart from it taking about 20 minutes to get the first pint because it was rammed. And it went down very well from there. And the choir sang Delilah, and the whole hotel joined in. Obviously sung some other lovely songs, Callan Lamb and other bits and bobs. We started there, and then, because it was so busy, there's another little bar I like to go to called Seasons, which is just opposite Cardiff Castle. And it's about 20 foot long and about 5 foot wide. And you'll always get a beer. So we had a few beers there as well, and then made our way to the stadium. And you know what? During the game, I had 2 pints because I really wanted to see the game, wanted to enjoy it, wanted to remember it. And that was the plan. You know, the atmosphere, like we were talking earlier, you know, once all the fever of the singing at the start and the anthems and the fireworks, as soon as that whistle went, it was silent. Dead silent. And then it didn't take long, obviously, because Ireland scored on Fields of Athenry with hammering around the stadium. You know, I can't remember much singing from the home crowd, if I'm honest. I mean, people did try and get it going a bit, like. But
Delilah?
I enjoyed the game.
Are you singing Delilah?
They did try, but I think it was drowned out, to be honest. But after the game, we shot back up to the Rummers Tavern, the oldest bar in Cardiff, and it was full of Welsh, Irish, and we were all sporting Scotland lovingly. Absolutely bouncing atmosphere. So we watched the game there. By this time, I thought it was 12:30, but it wasn't. It was like 6 o'clock. And I ended up on karaoke in another little bar.
What did you sing?
So
what were you singing?
Me and my Irish mate Paul, we sang The Gambler. The pub was
Kenny Rogers, good choice.
Oh yeah. The pub was rocking along to it. It was the only one they played, the only song we played on karaoke that night, and just to sing The Gambler. But it was immense, and you know, we didn't stay out late because obviously we had the kids to get back in the babysitter. But we came back and then hit the slow gin, and it's all a bit of a fog after that, to be honest. Hence the reason my drink of the week tonight is water, because I'm still suffering quite a bit, to be honest. But no, Joe. As a game day itself, regardless of the result, it was a fantastic day out. Cardiff was bouncing. It was great to see a Six Nations at home against Ireland with a full stadium, and it wasn't raining, and it was great. It really was a great day.
Fantastic.
So while we're on the subject of Cardiff, so we'll come on to the rugby and stuff in a moment, yeah? So I was talking to a couple of mates yesterday, and we always used to start in Park Vaults, which is now a bloody betting shop. Did any of you boys used to drink in Park Vaults, just off Queen Street?
That was a rough old place, that was.
That was the one.
A couple of my mates worked in there, like, you know, it was couple of fights they witnessed, yeah. I know it very well. Yeah, we used to drink there, like from like the age of 18 and through my 20s, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one that used to drink in Park Vaults, because it was an insane place to drink. Yeah, cool. Okay, so what did we think of the game then? And let's be nice. Let's fuck
positive.
Let's. What did you think?
You know, were we surprised by the result? I mean, obviously, I did predict the Wales win. So I instead I used that scoreline, put it on my lottery, and I won 30 quid. But oh god, lads, you know, Ireland started out of the blocks. They were like Usain Bolts all around the field. You know what I mean? They were fantastic, weren't they? And we had no answer to it. Had absolutely no answer to it in that first half. You know, it was like it was men against boys.
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
With the amount of experience we had in that team. And like we all put our squads out last week, and we thought there would have been a few different players involved in that team. It didn't happen, and I think, this is my personal opinion, I think there's got to be a few changes now this week, and we'll discuss that later with our squad selections there. But you know, as a day out, it was a great day out, like I mentioned just then. But we must do better, as the school report says. You know, we must try harder. We must be more precise, exact, clinical.
But how many times have we said that in the past? Do you know what I mean? It's like we're not learning as a national team, as a set of regions, as a schoolboy rugby, you know, under sevens, whatever it is. You know, we're just not improving the game. We're not bringing intensity to the game at any level. I was at a game yesterday, and you just feel the same thing. You know, there's some big, hefty boys running around the park, but there's no one on the pitch, and there's no one in that Welsh team that you think, that's my enforcer. Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
Yeah, when Jake Bull was there, anyone steps out of line, and they're having a chat with Jake. Do you know what I mean? And we haven't replaced that attitude within the side.
I think Rhys Davies could come in, say, because he won't take a backward step with no one. And I think, you know, he could be the guy to be our go forward guy.
There's a bit of a drop off between that sort of looking the people at the end of their careers and the people at the start, sort of thing. The people in the middle. Do you mean like we need more of them as well, isn't it? You know, the people that are, you know, already developed and what have you, and can glue the side together, isn't it? Because you know, with, you know, you have the likes of Hawkins, who looked good, but he was like dispossessed on a number of occasions. Rio Dyer, like, you know, tried his heart out, but it was a few like, you know, things that will develop in his game, which will make him a better player, isn't it? But he came unstuck a few times, like when the Irish fullback caught the ball over the line and so forth. But
yeah, if he had dived a split second earlier, that little bit of rugby now, isn't it?
But he wanted
but
it.
Yeah, I just think the people at the start of their career and the people at the end, I think the gap's quite big. It's not like bringing them through like on a sort of like a conveyor belt.
But that's somebody was talking about this in the press on Sunday, and I can't remember who, but they called it the Gatland Gap, because and this is what we were saying almost at the start of the season when we were talking about the autumn internationals, that the focus for when Gatland was with us, first of all, the focus was on a set bunch of 35 players to get to that World Cup, and then that was it, gone. Right, I'm off. Cheers, boys. Away you go. And there was no. You look at Ireland now; we've got people constantly coming through, and that could have been happening, you know, certainly over the last 3 or 4 years, and then we would be in a position now where we've got experienced players, whereas Pivac tried to kind of overcompensate and was chucking younger players in that just weren't up to it, that needed 3 or 4 games around the experienced players to kind of bring them on. And now you're in that bit where actually there's probably 3 or 4 players on that pitch on Saturday that hadn't really earned their places. They were only there because they're the old guys to bring the new guys on, you know? So we've shot ourselves in the foot. We shot ourselves in the foot over the last 6-8 years where, for whatever reason, best of intentions and all that kind of stuff, but we've created this situation where there's not enough players in their prime going into this World Cup. They just aren't. There's too many young uns.
I thought Gatland's comments after the game was quite interesting. He said he wasn't too disappointed with the performance. Speak for yourself, mate. I was very disappointed. Because after half hour, the game was over. It was 27 after half hour. It was game over, and there was no coming back from that. And I was very disappointed how soft we looked. I was disappointed how we kept losing the collisions. I was disappointed with the amount of soft penalties we were giving away. The amount of times we were letting Ireland into our 22 all too easily. Our discipline was horrendous in our first half. And, I'm afraid there were too many senior players that really underperformed on Saturday.
Yeah.
Tolupe Faletau had the worst half of rugby I've ever seen him play in my life.
Yeah.
I thought he was really bad, giving away so many penalties. He may give away at least 3 or 4. Adam Beard, I've always stuck up for Adam Beard. Adam Beard is a Marmite player in Welsh rugby. There are people who really like him, like myself, and there are other people who don't rate him at all. And there are a lot of calls for him to be dropped for Scotland. I don't want to see him dropped. I would give him another chance. I like Adam Beard, but he was poor, completely outplayed by his opposite number, Tagburn, and James Ryan done a number on him in the line-out. I thought George North was pretty ineffective in midfield, I got to be honest, And for all the talk about Wales being, all this experience in the old guard, there were 900 caps in our Wales team, apparently. And yet our best players were Joe Hawkins, Jack Morgan, Rio Dyer, the kids. So I think there's a lot of calls now. People are getting a little bit too, over-eager on Welsh Rugby Twitter and Facebook. They want to see all these changes. Let's drop, Faletau, let's drop Tipperary, let's drop Bigger,
You've seen Carwyn's side then.
Well, it's not. Carwyn is one of many people getting overexcited, but I am not resisting all these changes as of yet. I don't think Gatland should do that, and I don't think he will, because we have got to put this into perspective. This was the very first game of the tournament. Gatland's only been with these players a couple of weeks. Is this really the right time now, after just one game, to chuck the baby out with the bathwater and chuck in a load of kids for a tough trip to Murrayfield? And, let's not forget, people keep saying, oh, well, we're not going to win the Six Nations, the tournament's over. It's not over. We are still very much in this tournament. There's a lot to play for. But what I will say, if we do lose to Scotland, then I do think there is scope to start bringing in, some more youngsters. And I'm not saying we shouldn't make changes, of course, because we will have to make some changes. We'll have to make a change at lock. We don't know what's happening with Thomas Francis as yet. He's complaining of a tight calf, so we may have probably Dylan Lewis or Leon Prowse. So there will be positions where we have to make changes. But people calling for, 8, 9, 10 changes, no, it's just not right. And Gatland won't do that. Gatland won't do that.
No, I'm sure he won't, but I was just trying to gain a bit of a reaction to see what people would say.
You were trying to wind people up on Twitter.
Well, no, not at all. But, if we do beat Scotland with the team he puts out next week, we don't know who it's going to be yet, then what do you do? Do you drip feed these younger players into that team, knowing that there's 3 games left, 2 World Cup warm-ups, and good luck, you're in the big time?
I actually think
they have to have
youngsters,
game time.
No, I do. I agree. I think that's a key word what you just said there, drip feed. I think you've got to drip feed youngsters. Because, okay, let's take the alternative approach then. Let's just say Gatland does what you and a lot of people want. Fucking get rid of all the old guard, bring in all these youngsters in, right? What happens if we get battered up in Scotland? Where do we go then? What happens?
What
do we do? But what do we do then? Yeah, but what confidence does that do for the players? Where do we go from here? If you're calling for all these youngsters to come, we get absolutely battered. There's nowhere to go then, is there? So
the thing is, some of these youngsters are playing. They're form players at regional level. I know it's a step up international, but they're form level and they're tearing it up in the league. And this is against South African teams, against Irish teams.
Test level's different, Carl. It's a different kettle of fish. Even though I know the URC is a good league, it's a good standard, but this is Test rugby. This a million miles a step up.
But I noticed in your team you had Mason Grady in the centre, and I can't wait to see him in the years to come, especially as a Cardiff fan. But remember when Jamie Roberts first came on the scene, sort of thing? He had a few games for Wales on the wing. Mason Grady is somebody that could fill in there, there's no easy games now in the Six Nations, I realise, but just to give him that sort of experience at international level, where they could do some damage, do a good job. He's got the pace for it, and it'd be a shame not to develop him now this close to a World Cup, and Kieran Williams and so forth. But I guess it's like how you bring them forward, isn't it? So the two ways you're both talking about, isn't it? Is one, throw them into the Lions' den and sink or swim and see how they get on and what have you, because they have been playing well in the league, or bring them on maybe different positional changes, or bring them on later on in the game and so forth like that, isn't it?
Balance.
Yeah,
it's all about
I don't want to
balance for me.
It is about balance. You're right. I agree. But I don't want to see any sort of damaged psyche going forward for them. But just to give them that experience, get in there, win or lose, get them in there. It's tricky. I think it is tricky because this, Warren Gatland, he's his own man, isn't he?
Right? Most of these players have come through an international system. Yeah, they've come through under 18s, under 20s. When they're with the under 20s, they're usually holding tackle. But when that year after under 20s, you're usually involved as an attached player with a national squad. So you're holding tackle bags, and you're just kind of getting the vibe of the camp. And this is what this is what being an international player is like. So the step up shouldn't be massive. Yeah, it should be. They've been groomed, for want of a better word. They're being prepared. They're being pushed in a certain way from a young age because they've been identified as this player could potentially have, could be an international player. Very few players, like in the olden days, you might have a couple of decent games for Cardiff and then you'd be thrown into a national side. That doesn't happen now. You get monitored week in, week out from under 18s. Yeah, your time in the gym, your time on the pitch, your time in strength and conditioning, all of that is filtered in to the national system, so they know who's ready. They know who's at that level where they can cope with it on an international level. And I think a lot more players are ready to take that step up than we give them credit for, because we hold back that we don't want to damage them. Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Lee, right? But let's look now at Gatland, right? In his first stint with Wales, we know when his senior players underperformed, when his favourite players underperformed, he didn't just drop them. He gave them opportunities time and time again to redeem himself. And I'm pretty certain that's what we're going to see this week. You're not going to see mass changes. People are calling for 8, 9, 10 changes. It's not going to happen. There'll be tweaks here and there. I still expect him to put faith in the old guard. So he's not going to drop Dan Biggar. I've seen people calling for Owen Williams to start. He's not going to drop Talupe Faletau. He's not going to drop George North. We're going to see a change at lock, possibly. Well, yeah, we will, because of Alwyn Jones, and we could see a change at tight head. There'll be tweaks here and there, but Gatland is not going to rip it up and start again. He's going to give the old guard another opportunity, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'd love to see that young team I put on Twitter. It'd be awesome. But like I said, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to incentivize these players.
Yeah,
because they'll have a point to prove now against Scotland.
And don't get me wrong. Yes, let's bring the youngsters on. Let's see Teddy Williams and Macy Grady through. I get it, but what I'm saying is for this game, this is still a must-win game. It's only a second game of Six Nations. I don't think it's the time to chuck all the youngsters in, but we have got to bring in some new blood at some point during the tournament. And I think Gatland will do that. I just think for this game, he's going to stay pragmatic. But I tell you what, there could be a change. There could be a change on the wing, because you're talking about Real Dyer earlier, right? Now, you boys know I love Real Dyer. Obviously, Dragons, I love seeing him try for Wales and doing well in internationals, and I'm a big fan of this. But I think at test level now, we've got to see an end product from Rio, because he's very good at creating these opportunities. He's got to start finishing them now. I've just felt there was a couple of opportunities on Saturday, like you mentioned earlier, Reece, the grubber kick through.
Yeah.
Now I thought that was a try. I honestly thought he was in there, but he was beaten for pace for Hugo Keenan, and for me, that shouldn't have happened. And I think he should have dived a little bit earlier. I think that should have been an opportunity taken.
No, absolutely.
There was also an interception as well, which he couldn't hold on to.
Yeah.
And it did make me think, I don't know about you guys, but when I watched it, and I'm desperate for Rio to do well, and I do hope he keeps his place, but it did make me think, if that was Louis Rees-Zammit, would those opportunities be taken? It did make me think that. So I hope Rio keeps his place. I got a feeling that Alex Cuthbert could come in purely because of his defence and, negating the threat of Van der Merwe. I wouldn't be surprised if Cuthbert comes in. But from Rio, I just want to see a bit more end product. He looked so good with ball in hand. He looked really dangerous. And to be fair, the kid worked the socks off all game. But we've got to see an end product from him now, I think, in test level.
But going back to what we were talking about earlier, though, isn't it? They've been prepared for this international level, but they're still, all young players come on and make those wrong decisions, don't they? And that's how they develop and what have you. But if you throw them all in at the same time, you need somebody that makes the right decision and makes that, and naturally so they're going to be making, bad decisions here and there and what have you as they develop. But like you do need those players around them because like more experienced and settled, like say centre partnerships or packs are just going to eat them alive, like doing, I think.
You should give credit to Ireland, mind. I mean, they're the number one team in the world for a reason, and they were absolutely ruthless, weren't they? And they were so clinical. They really were clinical. Every time they come into our 22, I thought they were going to score, whereas we sort of huffed and puffed, and we blew. This is the only encouraging thing for me as a Wales fan, right? Although the result was disappointing, we created so many opportunities. I watched the game back this morning. We had loads of opportunities, but we just kept coughing up ball. A couple of lineouts went astray. We overthrew. Ken didn't throw it straight. And if we took more of our opportunities and chances, score a few tries, I'm not saying Wales could have come back and won, but it could have been a very different game. We could have at least got a bonus point out of it. It would have been interesting to see how Ireland would have responded then, because we did have them on the ropes for a period of time. They were giving, as Girvan said, they were giving away a lot of penalties. But we just got to be more clinical in our attack. And the front five really got front up again, because I do think we're soft up front,
Well, when you look at the stats from the weekend, it was like virtually 50-50 possession, virtually 50-50 territory. Penalties were not that different.
Well, it didn't seem like it when I was there watching it.
I know.
We gave away a lot of penalties, didn't we?
Yeah, but so did they. In the second half, so did they. That's what I'm saying. It balanced it. I think there was 2 penalties difference between the sides. Actually, the sides were quite evenly balanced on paper. And the difference was that when they had their opportunities, under pressure, they can put a pass in, they can make the right decision, and they can go, right, that ball goes to that player on the outside and he's in. Or that stays tight and we're going to stay tight. And do you know what I mean? They make the right decision. And that's the difference between the sides, that we can talk about taking our opportunities and making the most of it, blah, blah, blah. They executed on that. And that's a different, and that sometimes that just takes time to come. You have to play through games where things don't quite work and you go away and you work on it and then you come back and then the stuff starts to work and then there's something else to work on, blah, blah, blah.
But they're powerful as well, aren't they? They are powerful, and we could not contain their power, and we did look rather weak in comparison. And I do worry we just haven't got enough power in our forwards at the moment,
Well, let's use that as our springboard onto selecting our sides for this week. So let's go through who we agree on first. Can you boys all see my screen?
Yes.
This is the height of technology now, boys.
Very impressive.
There's a spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet with colours on. Yeah, I shit you not. This is as good as it gets. So we all agree on Rhys Carey and Ken Owens. So there'll be tick a box there. And then we've got a choice then between Dylan Lewis and Leon Brown. I think we're all kind of assuming Francis doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Let's just go with he's not going. Last time we all selected Francis at 3 anyway, didn't we? So this is assuming he's not going to make it. So it's 50-50 between Dylan Lewis and Leon Brown. So discuss.
I think Lewis will get a nod ahead of Leon.
Sorry, go on.
No, not for any other reason. I just think he will. I just think you'll start with Dylan, and then you'll have Leon coming on for the last 20 minutes or so.
And I think that's the right way round. I think that Dylan Lewis has now had a bit of international rugby under his belt, which is different to Leon Brown having a bit of URC rugby under his belt. So that's why I've gone for him as well.
But like I say, I have them both obviously in the 23, you know. Leon Brown's a big, powerful guy to bring on as well. Just his first game back for the Dragons there, you know, he absolutely smashed it there, I thought. So, absolutely have him in the 23.
Yeah,
and coming on.
I would like to see him come on a bit earlier than 20 minutes to go. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to see him half an hour or maybe the second half, you know.
Yeah, it depends on how the game's running.
Yeah, I think sometimes we leave it too late to bring people on and they can't make that much of a difference on the game. And it's, you know, sometimes we bring people on with 3 minutes to go or something stupid like that just to say they've got a cap. But I reckon at least half an hour, whichever one's on first, the other one needs to finish the game with, you know, for half an hour at least on that. So who are we going to go with then? Lewis or Brown?
Lewis for me. I think he's more likely to start than Brown, personally. But
I think he probably is.
Start, isn't he? He's more likely to start.
Oh, okie we'll go with Dylan Lewis then. Right, lovely jubbly. So we got similar sort of thing in the second row. We got 2 for Adam Beard and 2 for Rhys Davis. So the interesting thing is that all 4 of us selected David Jenkins in the second row as well, who is, you know, I think that's his second cap, third cap. So, you know, I think he made the impact that we hope somebody would. So who are we going to pair with David Jenkins?
Well, like you say, you know, we've both, again, it's 50-50 Adam Beard and Rhys Davis, but I'm trying to have a bit of a rethink because I also think Rhys Davis is a fantastic number 6 as well. So to that end, I say, with Alan Wynne out, it is a tricky one, isn't it? But you do need that power. We don't know what sort of power Beard does provide in those scrums. Obviously, for the Ospreys, he's been smashing it all season.
And he brings experience as well to the younger David Jenkins, isn't it?
He does, he does.
I think that's
what's your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think that'll tip it. I think that the fact that if we put Rhys Davis and David Jenkins on a pitch, you know, in the boiler house where you really need a bit of grunt and you really need somebody that's going to front up, and we got 2 boys with 2 or 3 caps each. So, yeah, I'm probably going to come down on. He's probably going to select Beard, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he will go for Beard. I think he should as well, to be fair. I know he had an absolute stinker, but I do like Adam Beard, and I think he deserves an opportunity to to put right the wrongs that he did in that first half. Because if you go with Jenkins and Davis, that's very inexperienced, and I just think that's too risky. But yeah, I would go with Beard and Jenkins for my boiler house pairing.
Okay. So back row, same as last time. Back row is where it all gets a little bit messed up, especially because I think Carwin was still pissed when he selected his. So we've all selected Jack Morgan. So Rhys and Jamie have put him at 6. I've put him back at 7, and Carwin's put him at number 8. Go on, Carwin.
Purely because he has got power in those legs to get through the tackles, a quick ball off the floor. He's not the biggest of guys, but once he gets shifting, he is very difficult to stop.
He's a ball carrier.
Yeah, you know, and he's played there for the Ospreys, against Leinster, against Montpellier. So I'd back him to do a job there.
Yeah, you haven't convinced me on that, mate.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I think Talupe needs a kick at the backside. He's had the worst game he's had. He's always been there if he's in the squad. And actually, no one's bigger than the team. So, you know, off you go, sit on the bench.
He's not going to drop Faletau, is he? Come on, let's be realistic. Gatland is not going to drop Faletau. He's just not. I understand. I know what you're saying, Carl, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. But if you're being practical, he's not going to do it.
No.
Yeah.
And if anyone was going to come in at number 8, I'd put Christians there. Just because of size, bulk, and I'd have Morgan on one of the flanks. But So interestingly, me and Carwyn have both put Shunza at 6, and Jamie and Reese have put Jack Morgan at 6. I mean, I've got Jack Morgan at 7 with Shunza. I just think that's a big mobile back row. But it's we go on about how difficult it is to select a 7, and that's not going to change because at 7 two of us have got Tiprick, then we got Tommy Reffel, and we got Jack Morgan. So what's our back row going to look like?
Well, look, Chris, he's a great line-out option as well. He's fast, he's powerful. I think we're all singing off the same song sheet. Thereabouts, aren't we? When it comes to the back row, it's a really difficult choice.
It is tough,
But he has played for Wales before. He played against the All Blacks. I think it was the All Blacks he played against. Stick him in. Him and Dav Jenkins are playing really well for Exeter.
Shunza's got a fair bit of grunt about him. When you see him winding players up for Exeter, he properly gets in their faces and he's shouting and screaming, and he's a big boy to have shouting and screaming in your face.
Yeah, I think whether he starts or not, Shunza's got to be in the match day 23 for me. He's got to be in there. If he starts with a 6, which I'm not sure he's going to do, I'd be absolutely fine with that. Or you have him on the bench, but I do think we need Chris Shunza because he's a big, big guy, and there's been a lot of talk about our back row being too small. I do think he has to be there somewhere, doesn't he, Chris Shunza?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like him on the bench because he can cover the whole back 5, though, can't he?
Yeah, you could have him a lock, you could have him across the back row, and he could do a job. I think he's going to be needed up there in Murrayfield. We need grunt. We need ball carrying, but we need grunt. And we're lacking it at the moment. So we need these boys to really step up now and give us a bit of go forward.
We need, and just to see that Scottish pack was looking good against England. It's a big pack as well, isn't it? The Grey Boys and that. So you need an experienced number 8 just to control a ball if our scrum creaks again. So I'd be a bit standoffish about possibly putting him at 8, like we were just discussing. But apart from that, I'd be happy to see him anywhere else.
Okay, so let's flip this round then. Where do we put Jack Morgan? Do we put Jack Morgan at 6 or 7?
Oh, put him at 7, Christ at 6, Talupe at 8, and then have Tips on the bench to come on with that experience. Why not?
Right, say that again.
Sorry, did I just stun you?
You lost him now.
Oh, right.
You're already silent. Sorry, lads.
So
Christ at 6, Morgan at 7, Talupe at 8, Tiprick on the bench.
Okay.
Are we going to go with that?
All right, I'll take Jack Morgan at 7 then. Go on.
I don't take Morgan at right. Okay, yeah, fair enough. You convinced me. Okay, so Morgan at 7. And who do you say at 6? Shunza.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm only saying this because you boys aren't going to let me get away with having Reece Webb at scrum half. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which brings us to scrum half. So 3 of us were sober and made a decent decision of Thomas Williams, and Carwyn put Webb in.
Well, I did watch it back, and all right.
And you still decided to put Webb in?
Well, no, hang on. So Wales did play better in the second half, which was why Webb was getting a swifter service than Thomas Williams. Thomas Williams had a rough ride. But I think Webb adds that experience. He's got a good kicking game. He is swift. And in the past, I'll hold my hands up, I've said, you know what, he doesn't get there quick enough. But actually, this season, he's been bang on form. And
did any of you see Squidge Rugby's tweet about Reece Webb this weekend? And bear in mind, Squidge is an Ospreys fan. He did crack me up. He said, I own furniture that would get the ball up the ruck quicker than Reece Webb.
Yes, I did see that one.
Did you see that? I thought it was great.
He takes that step, doesn't he? He takes that really annoying step before he passes the ball. Like, do you mean? It's just like, at least with Thomas Williams, it's whipped out, but he takes that step, and I'm screaming at this, just pass the ball. Like,
Oh, look, I like Reece Webb, but do I think he's going to start at Murrayfield? I don't think so. I think he'll stick with Thomas.
Yep.
Thomas Williams.
Well, 3 out of the 4 of us have gone for Thomas Williams. So it's Thomas Williams in the pack. So
I'm just looking at the spreadsheet and I can see there's a one-eyed Scarlet fan has put Rhys Patchell down. So
he's not our
Hell Supreme.
So let me explain why I've
You're going to need to
Patchell it. So
you need to explain your Scarlet. That's fine.
It's more about Patchell gives you something extra in attack that Bigger doesn't.
Yeah, he does. In fairness,
it's all well and good putting Owen Williams in there, but again, for experience, Patchell's got a kick on him, he's got pace on him, and he's got that little bit of experience. And I thought Bigger just had a bit of a nightmare on Saturday, and if you're going to look at, Gatland did select Patchell quite a few times in his last stint. And the reason he didn't select him more is because Patchell was usually bloody injured. And that hasn't changed.
I do like Patchell. I do like Patch. I hope he sorted his tackling technique out since a while back, but I do like Rhys Patchell, but I wouldn't have him starting.
Well, he is our best attacking fly-half mind in the squad. So I do agree with what he's saying. But again, when we talk about these players being dropped, I cannot see Warren Gatland dropping Dan Bigger. I think that would be a really big call. I know he didn't have his best game, with that loose pass to James Lowe, and I just can't see him doing it.
I'm just thinking having Bigger to come on, it gives you that kind of safety net. And Bigger's an emotional player, and if he's dropped, there'll be a response. So again, for me, it was Patchell for the first half, Bigger for the whole of the second half, and use it as a tool to see what people can do. Finn Russell's going to try and pull us left, right, and centre around that park on Saturday, and having somebody opposite him who can kind of match him with a creativity, and certainly match him with a pace. But Bigger won't be able to match Finn Russell with pace. Patchell will.
But does Rhys Patchell have Dan Bigger's leadership qualities?
No,
because Dan Bigger is a leader. But there we are then. So if you take Bigger out, you're taking out one of your leaders. Just bear that in mind as well.
Yeah, and that's why it's one of those things that it's always got pros and cons, isn't it? It's always got one of those.
Oh, I like Patchell. I think he's quality. I do. I do like him. I just don't think he'll start as a big arsehole for this game.
So we're going to stick with Bigger, but if Patchell comes in, we'd be happy. And I can't see him bringing in Owen Williams. I think he'll use Owen Williams as a player to come on because he can come on at 10, 12, 15. I think he'll be a utility
useful player to have on the bench, isn't he?
Yeah. So again, then looking at blindside wing, we've got 3 of us going for Rio Dyer, and Carwin selected an Osprey again. So is there anybody in your back line who isn't an Osprey? Oh yeah, Mason Grady, Josh Adams. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So,
Liam Williams. Yeah. So I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why, and there's only one reason. Because he's 6'6", he's a big lad. His tackling's got better, his defence has got better, and we'll need him to do with Van der Merwe.
Yeah, which is why I said earlier.
And I like Rio. I think he's done really well. He's had a great first season with Wales, and I don't want him to see the boy dropped. I'd even put him on the bench, but I just think for this one game and the must-win game, I think we need a bit more experience in that back line.
But
in that one position, I should say.
But would Cuthbert challenge Van der Merwe in the way Rio Dyer would? With ball in hand, would Cuthbert have because Van der Merwe's tackling, his defence isn't great. He's one of those players that he kind of pushes him into touch and he might grab a shirt. Would you rather have Rio Dyer running at him or Alex Cuthbert?
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, yeah. It's Rio Dyer. We've gone Rio Dyer. There's 3-1. We're going Rio Dyer.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, mate, I wouldn't be surprised if Cuthbert does come in for the reasons you said, the experience and, try to stop Van der Merwe. I would not be surprised at all. And like I said, I just think Rio needs some end product now at this level. But I hope he doesn't get dropped, but I can see, it wouldn't surprise me if Cuthbert came in, to be honest.
So looking at inside centre again then, And there's a bit of a theme building up here, boys. 3 of us have gone for Joe Hawkins, and then Carvin's gone. Yeah, I know, but Kieran Williams.
Right.
And
How have you dropped Joe Hawkins, Carl? Maybe he was the best player. What's going on?
No.
You on crack?
You on
crack? He was one of our best players.
Michael
against Australia.
No, listen, I like him. He's had a few games now. I stick him on the bench and get, like I said, drip feeding. Give Kieran Williams a chance because the boy's like a tank. And he'll take it up all day and he'll smash those tackles and he'll defend like all day as well. And that's not saying that's enough for Joe Hawkins because I think he's a great player. Get him on a bench, bring him on second half, whatever. But you've got to start giving, like say, these younger players a crack at the whip. And again, with my next selection of Mason Grady as well. I think this is the time to do it.
That's very inexperienced, that midfield. This is a big game, and that's a very inexperienced midfield. I don't like it.
And they got a very...
But the exuberance of youth, I tell you what, no fear. You're good enough, you're old enough. They wouldn't be in the squad otherwise.
Yeah, but it's just the game to do it, though. That's what we got to think of. It's just really the right time to be chucking in such an inexperienced midfield against a must-win game up in Murrayfield. I just don't think this is the right time to do it.
And Joe Hawkins has only had, 5 caps, 6 caps? He's not exactly...
He's had a couple, hasn't he? He's had a couple of caps. He's been one of our best players the past couple of games.
I completely agree.
He's the future Welsh 12 now. I don't see Tompkins coming in. In fact, I'm not sure where Tompkins fits into what Gatland's plans, to be honest.
He's a completely different player. I think we were all a little bit shocked when Tompkins got named in the squad.
Yeah.
Weren't we? Because he's just not he's not a Gatland style player.
No, absolutely.
For me, 3 out of the 4 of us have gone with Hawkins, so I think he will stick with that just because he wants to see him kind of develop. He bases his game around a strong run in 12, and we didn't see that.
So what was
on Saturday?
So why didn't you
go on?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go on. I'm interrupting again. Sorry.
No, I say we didn't really see that on Saturday. We didn't really see the kicking game. We really didn't see that crash ball king coming in out of 12. So I think he wants to give him a bit of time to develop that. And so that's why I think he'll stick with Hawkins for quite a while. I think we won't see anybody else at 12 for the rest of the Six Nations, barring England.
He showed some nice touches as well, I thought, against Ireland. He is a talented footballer. I really like the look of Joe Hawkins. It'd be really cool to just drop him now, I think, personally.
Got dispossessed a couple of times, isn't it? But he, as you say, he got some really good taking the ball up. He didn't just crash into the man, and it crashed between the shoulders.
Yeah.
Really clever.
Huge potential.
Yeah.
Really big potential. Yeah. Like him a lot.
13 then. Again, we're split at 13 between Mason Grady and George North.
I don't think explain Mason Grady.
Well, I put Mason Grady in because George North on Saturday was virtually constantly upright and just going into tackles and trying to, I don't know, he wasn't even in a tackle position. Whether he was taking the ball into contact or whether he was defending, his body position was upright the whole time. And, I've said this before, I don't think he's a 13. I think he's a winger, and he's got a lot of experience and he's got pace, but I just don't see him as a 13. He's a strong runner. I wouldn't put him at 13.
The problem is we got so much depth on the wing now, so I don't think you can put him on the wing because who misses out? You're not going to play him ahead of Louis Rees-Savage if he's fit than Josh Adams, are you? So he's going to have to stay at 13, and we haven't got the depth for 13. No. I thought he was disappointed, mate, on Saturday, George North. I thought, there were a couple of nice defensive reads, but in attack, I thought he was very anonymous, actually. Yeah, I was quite disappointed with him. But do I think he'll lose his place for this? No, I don't. I think he'll keep his place.
I do. In all honesty, I do too. I would like to see somebody else come in there and make that position their own, because Since Jonathan Davis, even when Jonathan Davis was playing and he picked up a couple of injuries, nobody really came in and dominated that position. George North hasn't dominated that position. George North is there because he's a really decent player and he can probably play 13. He can do a job at 13. He's not an outstanding 13. Do you know what I mean? And I want to see somebody come in who's going to be an outstanding 13. So
yeah.
Are we going to stick with North at 13?
Reluctantly, yes.
Yeah. Reluctantly. That's a big word after your straw.
Milkshake,
Are you drinking it through one of those straws? You get those big straws. You go.
I should have done that, shouldn't I? Yeah. No.
Right, we've agreed on Josh Adams on the open side wing, so that's a good one. And we pretty much all say with Liam Williams, and I've thrown Lee Halfpenny in there just because I think he selected him for a reason.
Because you're Scarlet, yeah, that's right.
I can see Halfpenny leaving at the end of this year from Scarlets. Genuinely can, and we got people coming through that will do a better job. As much as people like Lee Halfpenny, he's just constantly injured. And
you'd have wretched luck. I mean, if you think about Lee pulled out twice in the autumn, did he, against New Zealand? Like then it was against Australia. And last week, it just keeps happening now, and the guy just has such shit luck. He really does. And I'm a big fan of Halfpenny. I still think he's one of the best defensive fullbacks in Europe. And I would love to see him make his comeback. Yeah, it was such a shame. Such a shame.
This is what I said to you guys at the time. We got 3 fullbacks in that squad, yeah? We've got Lee Halfpenny, who was pretty much injured going into it, recovering from an injury going into it. We've got Liam Williams, who's got a hand injury and is just coming back from an injury. And then we got Louis Rees-Zammit, who's out injured. We've got 3 fullbacks in that squad who are injured. Liam Williams didn't train with the squad last week because he was injured.
But you know what? But I thought
he was good.
He played fantastic. I thought he was great.
Yeah. If you put the yellow card to one side, put the yellow card aside, I thought Liam Williams was one of our best players behind the 3 youngsters, actually. I thought Liam, considering the time he had out, I thought he did all right, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we got 3 fullbacks there, all 3 of them injured, and then what happens next? So,
well, Josh Adams can play fullback as well. There's options.
Yeah, but then
Williams,
but then it's the same. You're back to that same argument with George North. You're putting somebody on the pitch into a position that they don't normally play because they're a good player. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we haven't got the depth, have we? That's just a reflection of our depth. That's the problem. Who else are you going to bring in? You're going to have to play players. Players are going to have to be versatile because we haven't got the depth.
So we've agreed on Liam Williams, and then we move on to the bench. So we pretty much agreed on Bradley Roberts and Gareth Thomas, and then we flip-flop around Dylan Lewis and Leon Brown. So we've selected Dylan Lewis in the side, so we'll probably put Leon Brown on the subs bench because that kind of works because we can't put him on both. Lovely jubbly. And then, what kind of split do you run on the bench? Well, this is where it gets tasty, boys. This is where it gets... Sometimes selecting the subs bench is more difficult than the actual team, innit?
Yeah.
So what
I'm pleased to see three of us went with Kieran Hardy as on the bench, but I'm disappointed he went with Thomas Williams. But hey ho, can't have it all.
But again,
Kieran Hardy brings a bit of a kicking game, doesn't he?
And that's what we were expecting, isn't it?
I've chosen.
He's a different animal at test level, isn't he?
Yeah, because he's crap at the URC level. He is. We got three fucking international scrum halves, and he's probably 4th in line at Scarlets at the minute. But hey ho. So anyway, who are we going to put in kind of back row cover? So we got Shunza, Falatau, and then 2 of us have gone Raffle. And then second row cover, we've got kind of Rhys Davis, Adam Baird, and Shunza. So as much of a much.
We've got Shinju down. We've got Shinju down the starting back row, haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, Shinzer and Davis, that covers everything in the back five, doesn't it?
But then do you leave Tommy Reffel out?
You can't leave Reffel out because of his breakdown threat, and he actually did well when you come on in the second half. So for me, it's got to be Reffel.
Yeah, I agree.
We had one turnover until Reffel came on.
He was good as well off the bench.
So we're going to keep Tommy Reffel, yeah. Lovely, jubbly. Let's do that. So I tell you what, boys, this whole spreadsheet bollocks, got this licked. If only this is my job.
I got some friends that'll be very excited that we're using spreadsheets like it.
Everything in my life is done on a spreadsheet. My weekly shopping list is done on a spreadsheet. Honest to God. I walk around Tesco's with a spreadsheet. That's my shopping list. So second row cover, Rhys Davis, Adam Beard, or Shunza. So we got Shunza in the side, so let's leave him out. So did we put Adam Beard in the side as well?
We did, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so we got Beard and Shunza. Right, okay, so that leaves...
It's got to be Davis then, isn't it?
Rhys Davis, yeah.
Rhys Davis, it'll have to be him.
Okay, so that'll be his.
Yeah, I think we had him on our bench last week as well, didn't we?
Yeah. And then backs cover. So we've agreed on Kieran Hardy. 3 out of the 4 of us went Kieran Hardy, and then we kind of gone Mason Grady, George North, Owen Williams, and Bigger again, depending on who's on the pitch, because we said we're going to stick with Bigger.
So we have to go with Owen Williams.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, simply because of the versatility, isn't it? He just gives you that option, and depending on who's at fullback, will depend on how they get injured. So, and then you got one position left to cover in the backs.
Cuthbert or Grady, isn't it?
It'd have to be Cuthbert, wouldn't it? Thinking about it.
Yeah,
he's on the pitch already.
Yeah, because he's not gonna. We haven't put him in our side, so
it's got to be Cuthbert then. Yeah,
there we go. And do you reckon this is how they do it when Gatland's selecting his squad?
Yeah,
they all sit round with some crazy beer and a spreadsheet, and they go, "I'll tell you what, right? Let's put so and so in there, right? That is our squad, gents. That's our 23 for Saturday, and we will put that out later.
Nice one.
And people can argue about it because I don't care. Fuck them.
Right. Some quick fire predictions.
So set your stall out there, Lee. Ready for a fight, you? Yeah.
Bring it on. Yeah. Bring it on, bitch. So before we do predictions for this weekend, let's quickly have a look at our fantasy league, because we actually had people in our fantasy league. People wanted to join our fantasy league, and I beat a lot of you, which is quite good for me.
Yeah, I'm disappointed by that, because actually when I first looked and I saw the name Carwin, I thought, I'm in second, but no, there's someone else in our league called Carwin.
That's my mate, that is Carwin. That's Carwin Evans.
Right, okay. Well, fair play to him. So at the top of the list, we've got Sean in first place, followed by...
That's my other mate.
On 726.2 points. I mean, how can the Dragons fans do so well here, right? And like, when it comes to the Dragons,
they're Dragons. They're Scarlets. They are.
The Scarlets.
There you go.
They're not the Dragons.
Don't upset him, no.
Can I apologise to Sean and Karen in advance for being called Dragons fans? They won't like that.
I'd like to apologise as well. I'm very sorry, lads. I do apologise. That means we've got 3 Scarlets in the top 3, with Sean, Carwin, followed by Lee. Scrolling down, we've got Hugh 92, the Wilfs Wizards, Jevs Red 87, followed by me in 7th place. 7 is my lucky number, so I don't mind. Behind me is Reese and Jamie. And then there's a few more going down the list, and we don't need to go any further. They can look at it themselves. I did enjoy saying that.
Well, we'll have to do it again this weekend, and because usually people do it on week 1 And then if they're not doing really well by week 2 or week 3, they give up and they go, bollocks to this. So that's what I'm hoping for. And they might actually stay at the top. I might be somewhere near the good end. But okay, so I wanted to bring in a little bit of a new bit that will probably make more sense closer to the end of the season. But a little bit of a news thing, rugby news for this week. And the only real news this week was the thing about, is Tipuric leaving and yes, he is. No, he's not. And then they announced the EGM proposals. Did you see what they're going to do with the EGM? So EGM is in March. It is March, isn't it? Did they say it was in March?
Yeah, it is in March.
Yeah. And a whole load of stuff which is not too dissimilar to what they threw out there last year, if I remember, and it got voted down. So what's your thoughts on it? I think it's something like over 50% of female representation on the board and stuff like that.
So the full plans are they want an independent chair. They want at least 5 out of the 12 board members to be women. They want the board skill set to be significantly more diverse. And they want one of the CEO or chair expected to be female. So, look, we know it needs to modernise. I've got no issue with these plans. I think it's been a long time coming. It's a shame that it's had, come because of a shitstorm of misogyny and bullying. That's the only thing for me. This should have been done years ago. But it's better late than never, isn't it, I suppose?
It's a shame that we have to be shamed into it, isn't it?
Yes.
No, absolutely.
But then the pressure is there to get it through now. I think if anybody doesn't vote for this now, there'll be questions asked about.
There'll be a ruckus.
Yeah.
Well, it's 75% of the member clubs need to vote this through. And if you remember at the AGM last year, only 66% voted for the, it was 66%, around about that figure, voted for an independent chair. So there's a lot of pressure on the clubs now. And I'd like to think that, we saw a lot of statements from the rugby clubs, didn't we? When that BBC Wales programme, condemning the WRU, calling for change. So I'd like to think the member clubs are fully on board now with wanting to see the modernisation of the WRU. It has to change. I think everyone knows that now. I think we're at the tipping point now where I think everyone has to realise they need to change and we can't have any more self-interest.
Like Mudarak was saying, there's 3 parts of the game, isn't it? The Welsh side, the professional sides, and then the community game. Yeah, and that all needs to be looked after.
Yeah, but the WRU's reputation, I mean, it was, pretty bad before, but it's taken an absolute battering because this has been covered, pretty much worldwide in the rugby media, the national news, and it's lower now. It's lower than it's ever been. And I don't know if you saw the Senedd, Ian Evans was there and Nigel Walker in the Senedd committee being absolutely grilled. And it was quite uncomfortable viewing at times, but I think everyone knows that something has got to change now. We've reached that point where, doing nothing is not an option anymore.
And it kind of goes back to, if you remember, when we had the conversation with Rupert Moon in November, and he said, get involved in your local clubs. Don't sit there and say they should be doing this and they should be doing that. Go and make your voices heard in your local club, because they are the people that will go and vote. So don't sit back. It's usually every Monday night where there's a committee meeting, and you're entitled to go into that committee meeting. As long as you're a member of the club, you're entitled to go in and put your view forward. Don't necessarily stay for the whole of the meeting, but you're allowed to go in and make your views heard in that meeting. So I encourage everyone to do that in between now and the EGM. So we're nearly at the end, boys. There's another long one again tonight. It's Carwyn rabbiting on, it is. So predictions for this weekend then. So what do we... I'm not going to go over how well we did last weekend, because that's just nan. What are we thinking this weekend?
I'm hoping for a bounce. I'm hoping like the Gatland's true to his word, and he says, it's things that we can sort out, on the training paddock, and we go up there and do a job on Scotland. Scotland, I think there's going to be a little bit of psychology around the fact that they haven't beaten us for a while, or Gatland hasn't lost to them. and he'll make the most of that, won't he, Gatland? You know, in his dealings with the media and stuff like that in the week leading up to it. And you know, I'm the kiss of death anyway, like as we all know. So, but I'm gonna go out and say Welsh win by 7.
Oh, it's brave, right? So we'll go from the kiss of death and and we'll go to the Doomslayer. Go on, James. What say you?
Well, look, I'm going to try and be optimistic here, okay? Because let's be honest with Scotland, they very rarely back up a good result. You know, I remember the last time, it was either last year or the year before, they beat England and they were going to come to Cardiff. There was all the talk in the Scottish media and fans how they were going to come down and beat us. There was a lot of optimism and they completely fluffed their lines. They were bloody awful. And that's one of the things that Scotland now have got to overcome. They are big favourites for this game and there's a lot of expectation and they're not very good, Scotland, at expectation. They're like Wales. They don't like the favourites tag and they've shit the bed against us many times. So that does give me some hope as a Wales fan, you know, but I'm not going to lie, I am worried about this one. You know, I think Warren Gatland's 100% record is under serious threat and we have got to really muscle up and wise up and be more clinical with ball in hand. I'm going to go for Scotland win. I have to. I wanted to pick Wales. I wanted to, but I just got feeling Scotland are going to win it.
You came
so close.
I know.
You almost talked yourself into it. It was like you were having a conversation with yourself.
There was a moment there where you paused and you kind of went, "Nah, I can't do it. I can't do it."
Tip of his tongue.
I can't do it. I do. I think it's going to be a Scotland win. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
It was like I'm not following the kiss of death into this, like, you know.
Right, okay, so we'll follow that up with Carwyn's crazy selection. He's probably going to predict Georgia to win this one. So Wales and Scotland.
Stand by. All right, so never in my life have I bet against Wales. I don't intend to start now, as much as I think I should, but I'm not going to. Scotland are going to be a different beast this time round. It's a game we have to win. We must win. And there's a lot of players in that Wales team who've got a point to prove now. And I think Wales are going to win, and they're going to win by 9. Okay. I can't say much more than that, boys, because I'll start getting emotional.
We won't be as bad this week as we were last week. And I'm being serious now. In all honesty, we cannot be as bad, and I don't think we will. I think Gatland's going to give him a big kick at the arse. I do this week.
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm going to go for a 20 points to 18 Wales win. Last kick of the match, sort of a thing. I think it'll be a lot tighter than it should have been. The Ireland game should have been tighter. We should have worked stuff out. I think if that Ireland game had been at the end of the season, then it would have been very different. But I'm going to go 2018 to Wales and keep everything crossed that it's not too far away from there. So. We're all done.
Yeah, when I say Wales by 9, when I say Wales not by 9, I mean that could be 9-0. You know.
Yeah. Very tightly.
A win will do.
Scoreline.
A 3-0 win will do.
3-0. Yeah, happy with that. Yeah.
We need to win. Welsh Rugby needs a boost at the moment because it feels like it's in the doldrums at the moment, doesn't it? So fingers crossed the boys can put in an improved performance and come away with a win.
Absolutely.
We'll all sell them over next Monday.
Yep.
Ooh.
We got to wait for Carwyn to sober up next Monday first.
I'll tell you what.
Still near to the dog.
I'm debating having a little glass now. I don't know.
Did you say you were going up to this game? Did you say you're going up to Scotland?
No.
Okay.
No, I'd love to. But I think I'm working all weekend, and I think I'm working Monday as well, lads, on nights.
Okay. Okie dokie. On that note, then, I think we're all done, gents.
Nice one, lads.
Excellent.
Is open for a win, then.
Yeah, all the best, gents. We shall do this once again next week. Enjoy your rugby, and we'll catch up again next weekend. All the best. Cheers, gents.
Nice one. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it enough to come back next week and listen again. So please do subscribe, rate and review the pod, as it really helps us on most of the platforms that we appear on. You can keep the conversation going on Twitter and Facebook by searching for us WRRAP, WRRAP, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week to do some more of the same. We hope you'll come and enjoy us, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.